Good morning, sunshine. I wanted to welcome you back to Greenhouse Journal. I have decided to make some chunky spaghetti sauce. If you're new here, my name's Raina, and today I'm decided to make some recipes for canning. I did two. One of them's a little bit of a surprise because it's new to me, and it really went well. Normally the intro is done before the project, but I wanted to do the intro after the project just to see if there was anything that I needed to add in. And there were a couple of things that came up, so here we are. The spaghetti sauce that I made is not a family recipe by any stretch of the imagination. And normally spaghetti sauce, when you look at the ball book for recipes, and I recommend getting a ball book just because it has the guidelines that are safe for canning purposes, especially if you're new to canning. You can never go wrong with more information. There are some rebel canning methods out there, and these are people that have been doing this for generations. I know a lot of Amish communities and Mennonite communities, they don't usually use pressure canners. They use water bath canners for everything that they can. And mind you, these are things, this book specifically is like USDA recommended pressure can. I prefer to use this because the last time that I canned with my grandmother, I was 12. So it's been a while since that time. So I have been canning for the last few years, and I've learned a lot of it off of YouTube videos and this ball book. So my grandmother used to just can ingredients such as just green beans, corn. I think one meal that she had that she did every year was vegetable soup, and I think that was the only thing that she pressure canned because she did put hamburger meat in it. So the green beans, of course, she had to pressure can. But these are not, like, she never did spaghetti sauce. She never did white chicken chili, which I absolutely love having on the shelves in the pantry. Like, there's other soups that I have, like tomato soup. We probably had tomato soup. But she also did just like stew tomatoes, but it was mostly just ingredients that she canned. So I like to have the recipes that you can make meals in a jar, and those are things that you have to be comfortable with, and to get to that point you have to be comfortable with easy things. If you feel like that you want to learn how to can, there are some basic canning, water bath canning recipes that you can use. They are in here in this book, all over the YouTube videos. A couple of people that I really like to follow are that 1870s Homestead. She does a great job with some canning basics, pantry needs. Really enjoy hers. And there's a few more. Roots and Refuge, but I think she does the farmer's table, but she doesn't necessarily do so many canning, just doesn't do so many canning videos as she does meal videos. I like to get the ideas, the inspiration, and then turn it around and make it my own. So this is what I did with the spaghetti sauce and meat recipe out of the ball. It's the complete book of home preservation, 400 delicious and creative recipes for today. Today we only used one because that was a lot. The recipe that they have said that it would yield, I believe it said it would yield 5 jars. I did a little bit more because there's 6 more cans in the canner over here. I wanted to tell you some hints and some tips that especially if you're new to canning, I made a flub. Yeah, I think it's kind of a God nod, because maybe somebody needed to hear this and maybe somebody needed to see this. So I feel like that was something that it was meant to happen. This jar right here, you'll see that I started out with the product, the spaghetti sauce was here. It siphoned out this much because before I put this can into the canner, it flipped over to the side. What I should have done, but what I didn't do, is I should have taken this lid off, the ring and the lid, re-wiped the rim of the jar, got a new lid, replaced the ring, and started over like that, so that the integrity of the seal was not compromised. You can see on these jars, you don't hear anything. However, on this jar, you can hear a popping noise. These buttons are there to let you know that if your seal is right or not. If it actually went through the process of canning and it actually canned appropriately, that seal, that button, will stay down. And because what the process is releasing all of the air that is inside of the spaghetti sauce. That did not happen here. That was my fault, but it also, teaching moment, here we go. Another teaching moment is not all of them have this little ring, and this is grease, probably from the hamburger meat, and I would be willing to wager that this was one of the last cans of spaghetti sauce that I canned up with the hamburger meat that was at the bottom of the container that had probably the most amount of grease in it. This is not going to affect, as long as it's sealed, this will not affect the product that's inside of the jar. This amount is okay. If you have more than that, like up to the ring, that's going to be a problem. And I would probably use that within the next week. The same with this. This I will put in the refrigerator. I already have plans on making shells and cheese with this. So, I mean, happy little accident. Who's to say Bob Ross was wrong? So we'll be using that later this week. Another thing that I did, this was the prequel that I hinted to on my Facebook page, and I'll tell you at the end what exactly this is. So I just wanted to welcome you, and we're going to get started. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but there's going to be a lot of information in there. You'll have to excuse the noise of my ice maker. It rarely runs, so I'm happy that it's making me some ice. So it's been a busy day, so we'll see you on the at the end when I do the exit video. When you start getting in tomatoes and you are so tired from the heat of the summer harvest, because you will be, promising. Here's what you need to do. Grab you some gallon bags. And I'm going to open this up here. Hold on. You're going to put these into the freezer, but you're going to go ahead and core them, and then just make an X with a knife at the end of them. And you will see how easy it is to get these skins off. Also have some tromboncino squash that I'm going to use for this recipe. Okay, you can come too. The tromboncino squash will actually help extend the amount that you have in your spaghetti. I'll tell you more about that when I'm putting the tromboncino squash in there. I don't think I have anything. Now that this is thawed out, I wanted to show you the this is tromboncino squash. When it is green, you can see that it was green when I put it in the freezer. It acts like a zucchini squash. Zucchini is, it's kind of a chameleon of vegetables because it will take on the persona of whatever you put it in. I mean, have you ever heard of zucchini bread and zucchini brownies and stuff of that nature? If you put it in like spaghetti sauce, it will help lengthen the how far your spaghetti sauce will go. So that's what we're doing here. And the tomatoes, like I said, when you put them in the freezer, if you cut off the core before you put them in the freezer and do the little X at the end, this peel just comes right off. No effort at all when it starts thawing out. Sure beats the plunging into hot water and then plunging into cold water and then scalding your fingers while you're trying to get the peels off. So this is how I like to do it. There's a million ways to do different things, but this is just my preference. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little trick. I am going by the Ball Complete Book of Home Preservation, 400 delicious recipes for today. And I'm going with the spaghetti sauce with meat. Yes, I am going to add some ground beef to this spaghetti sauce. One of the things that it calls for is lightly packed brown sugar. I am not a big brown sugar, kind of sweet, tangy person to put that in my spaghetti sauce. I don't like it. I think it takes away from the other ingredients, in my opinion. The brown sugar technically is put in there to cut the acidity of all of the tomatoes that you're putting in. Here's another helpful tip. If you put carrots in there, you can put big carrots, whatever. This is just something that I grabbed because I was at the store and I was like, I need some carrots, but I don't want a whole lot of carrots. So I'm going to put half of this bag into this recipe, and I'm going to let that cook down into the tomatoes. You're going to see I do not follow this recipe very well because you can see in here that I have added I've added 12 cans of the fire roasted diced tomatoes. I got these from Aldi's. Love that because it adds a little extra something to the tomatoes. And you can see they're all on this side, the regular tomatoes that do not have any kind of seasoning are on that side. I'm going to add the seasonings that this recipe calls for, which are garlic, parsley, oregano, salt, and black pepper. I'm not necessarily going to add those specific things. I'm going to add Italian seasoning because I don't have any fresh parsley. And I'm going to add basil to this recipe because I love some basil in some spaghetti sauce. You can take a recipe, the Ball book, I usually specifically use it for my canning times. If you add meat and you add mushrooms, which I'm going to add meat and mushrooms to this, you cannot water process this. You cannot water boil this and process these jars because this decreases the acidity of the spaghetti sauce. So you actually have to pressure can these. It's going to be 60 minutes for quart. Let me see here. For pint jars at 60 minutes, for quart jars at 70 minutes. And I'll probably tell you that again. But because you're going to see a lot of spaghetti recipes that call for water canning, you cannot water can this specific recipe because of the meat and because of the mushrooms. You have to pressure can these. So I just wanted to point that out before I get started adding these other ingredients into this. Oh, if only there were smell-o-vision. This smells absolutely delightful. But I wanted to bring you back and show you that when this starts getting kind of cooked down, the carrots are really ready to go ahead and cook down. They're soft and ready to immersion blend. But this immersion blender, if you don't have one, I would suggest getting one. I love this thing. But what it's going to do is it's going to blend these vegetables in together, and it's actually going to make the sauce. And then I can start putting in the hamburger meat and the mushrooms and start making this the more chunky sauce that I'm looking for. Brought you back for the hamburger meat part of this. I wanted to show you. I know it looks just like a regular empty can. I like to drain my hamburger meat drippings into something that I can dispose of, that is not, because I don't want to keep it. It took me, I had a lady that actually told me about that a long time ago, and I thought she was the most brilliant woman, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but still think she was a brilliant woman, because that's the best life hack that I have to give to young moms. Drain your hamburger meat into a can that you can throw away so you don't have to mess with that stuff. But I have a little gravy spoon that I use. After I drain the grease off of the hamburger meat, I like to season this layer as well. And I usually use like a steak seasoning or a all-purpose seasoning. Garlic salt is not a bad idea either. This house loves some garlic. Jess from Roots and Refuge Farms says that she uses garlic like vampires are a real threat, and we do too. If you see me put garlic in there and you're like, eh, I don't like garlic, you don't have to use garlic. You can use whatever you want to. But as for our house, we love some garlic around here. And while I'm at it, I tasted the sauce, and my husband and I both decided it needed more salt and pepper and garlic. So there are 2 jars of the already minced garlic, if that gives you any indication how much this family loves garlic. So I'm going to get the rest of this grease pulled off, and I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, now for the good part. Now we're doing the chunky bits. Didn't realize the camera had shut off when I started the onion peeling, but you didn't miss anything much. If you haven't peeled an onion yet, I'm sure you can Google that process. I am, because of the fact that I really don't want to sit here and cry the rest of the afternoon, I'm going to use this chopper because he is my friend. Not my best friend, because that would be Jesus Christ, but he's close. Right after my husband, probably. So we're going to cut these up to sections that I can use in the chopper. You'll see why I'm so fond of this chopper in just a minute. Okay. Move you guys over here. I'll turn it the other way so you can see what happens. Isn't that lovely? Oh my goodness. Makes the soul happy. It's loud. The kids love doing it too. The grandbabies absolutely enjoy using this thing. Look at that. That would have taken me half a day. Alrighty. I'm going to do the peppers next. I think that I'm going to actually cut those because I want them a little chunkier. And I also have mushrooms. What I'm going to do is layer the hamburger meat, the mushrooms, the peppers, and the onions in the jars, and then I'm going to ladle the sauce over that. Just because I want there to be an equal amount in each jar. Sometimes when I'm doing, especially like white chicken chili, which I need to replenish that, so you'll be along for that ride as well. But like the white chicken chili, I noticed yesterday I had just about this much content in the bottom of a quart jar, and the rest of it was liquid, and I knew that that was like the last jar, and I'm trying to prevent that with the spaghetti sauce. Because I have spaghetti sauce that doesn't have chunks in it, I'm wanting to have the chunky stuff and the meat in my spaghetti sauce for this year. I want to have some options. So I'm going to layer that, and you think that the onions and the peppers and the mushrooms won't cook up, but 90 minutes in a pressure cooker, promise you they're going to cook. That's the whole point of the pressure canning, is to make sure that everything in the content is cooked and all of the air is expelled, so that it is shelf stable for, it says 2 years, but I have eaten some spaghetti sauce that has been on my shelf for 3 years. I've only been canning here for 3 years, so I know that that is as far back as it's gone. My grandparents used to can, and I know that we ate things off of their shelves for much longer than 3 years. Pop that thing open and we ate that because that was what was available. So today you can actually buy a lot of things on the shelf. You can buy chunky spaghetti sauce on the shelf, but you don't know what's in it. There's a lot of extra things that are in it to preserve it, to keep it from going rotten on the shelf. However, the old ways, the canning ways, the things that were, I wouldn't say popular, they were necessities back in the days of our grandparents and great grandparents. Some of those things are becoming a lost art, and those that kept those our grandparents and great grandparents healthy and stable. I mean, they did not depend on the government to supply their food. They did not depend on Libby to can their vegetables. They did not depend on Green Giant to can their green beans. So they canned their own things. They preserve their own foods. They preserve their own harvest. So these are not lost arts, but they're becoming extinct. And I think that there's a push for, I think they're calling it the granny culture, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay to help younger women that are just learning how to do these things, how to preserve their own food. If you want to join the grannies, I'll be happy to help you along with that. It's not anything that is necessarily hard. It does take some time to learn. A lot of people want to make the canning process scary. It's not scary. There's a lot of new pressure canners that have a lot of safety mechanisms, and I'll show you mine and show you the safety mechanisms. Those safety mechanisms are there because of the fear that people have put into the process of canning. If there's a fear attached to it, then there's typically a government that is telling you, well, we can fix that for you. And that's not what we need anymore in this society. We need to be able to be more self-reliant. So I hope that this encourages you to be more self-reliant. Back when my grandparents were canning foods, we did not can spaghetti sauce. We canned just ingredients. We had green beans, we had peas, we had maybe vegetable soup was considered a meal that they canned, but we canned just the tomatoes and use that tomato to make the spaghetti sauce or to make a stew with. It was just ingredient meals. Today there have been so many people that have made meals in a jar, and they're amazing. And it's interesting that people can meal prep, but they're afraid to pressure can those meals. Freezers, we're in the middle of a time, actually right now this weekend, where we're expecting Snowmageddon 2026. And if your power goes out, your meals in your freezers are not going to be safe. I don't know. If you let the refrigerator stay outside, it'd probably be just fine because it's going to be freezing temperatures. But back during Helene, a lot of people lost a lot of their food that they had in their freezers because it did get warm, and they lost a lot of their meat and vegetables that they had in their freezers. I actually spent time canning up a lot of the things that I had in my freezer during that time on a gas camp stove, because I could do that. I knew how to do that, and I wanted to make sure that we lost as little money as we could in food, because who knew when we were going to be able to get more food in, because who knew when the trucks were going to be able to get on the roads that were no longer there, that were deliverable for supplies. So I want to encourage you to become more self-reliant. If nothing else, have a couple of meals on the counters, on your shelves that you can just say, even, I want to tell you, my husband can go to through the drive-through, and it may take him 20 minutes. I can pop up in a can and have it heated before he gets out of the driveway almost. Convenience foods can be very easy, and you know what's in them. You know the ingredients that are in them. You know what your children will eat. You know what your families will eat. So you know what the preservatives are because there aren't any preservatives. You've made sure of that. So just be encouraged to try it, test it out, and just do the research for yourself. Do what's comfortable for you and your family. And I hope that helps. And we've got to get this stuff canned up. I'll see you in just a moment. Got some more peppers to cut up, and I'll see you when I start packing these jars up. Well, it's time to fill some jars. We are going to, I wanted to show you this. This is a roaster pan. So is this one. This one is smaller. It's like an 18 quart, and this one's a 22 quart. Either way, when I am putting food into these jars, it needs to be like if the jars are hot, the food's hot, and the canner has to be hot. If you're cold packing and all the food that's going into the jars are cold, you don't want the jars to be hot. You want the jars to be cold, because of the fact that if you do like a shock in the temperature, then your jars are going to either pop or they could not seal correctly, and that kind of ruins your day, in addition to ruining all of your hard work that you've been doing. Because I mean, I know you guys haven't been working today, but you've been watching me, and I've done a lot of work in here, and I don't want this to be ruined. And these jars are hot, extremely hot. So I'm going to get a couple of these out. Got a little bit of water in them, and a lot of hot water around them. And since I have not added chunks to my spaghetti sauce before, I'm going to test to see how much I want. You definitely want to have a funnel, and I know I'm going to be reaching back, so the volume may not pick up, but I'm going to try to either talk over the film that I'm doing, or I will do a voiceover. I'm going to see what 1 cup of meat looks like. And this is a 1/4 cup. Of the onions, 1/4 cup of the peppers. And then I'm just going to top it off with the spaghetti sauce here. You don't want to put the jars just on the countertop, just due to the fact that the countertops are probably going to be cold, and if you've got hot stuff in the jars, then it also may crack. I'm not so much debubbling at the moment as I am trying to get the sauce down to through the layers. And you're going to want to fill it to the 1-inch headspace, which will be this ring here. think that will, I think that's some good measurements there. When you have filled your jars, you can see where I've moved the contents kind of up towards the top. I'm going to dip a paper towel in some white vinegar, and that's going to get any kind of debris, see, like the spaghetti sauce, off of the rim. Anything under the rim, in between the rim and the seal, it may prevent the seal from actually sealing properly. So we don't want that. I use the 4-jar lids. I like them. I just think that they don't give me as much problem as some of the ball lids have in the past. And so that is my preference. You do what you want to do, honestly. You wanted to put the ring on fingertip tight. My husband is horrible at that part because he wants to wrench it down. He wants to use the whole hand. And you need to have allow the space between the jar and the lid to allow the air to escape, because that's what is going to keep the seal on the jar. So that's why you want it only fingertip tight and not completely wrenched down, because when you pull these out of the canner, then they are going to be sealed to the point that you can take this ring off and the lid will not come off of the top. That's the goal. You're not supposed to store, it's not recommended to store the jars with the rings on, because if you have a fake seal, then the ring can hide that and it may contaminate the food that's in your jar. And in addition to that, if you pull the lid off, if you pull it by the lid, I always pull my cans off of the off the shelf by the lid, because if it gives any at all, I trash that. And I've only had one can do that, and it was a ball jar can lid. And I'll show you when these come out what you're looking for to see if it has actually sealed appropriately. I'm going to fill these jars up, put them in the canner, and then I'll get right back with you. Okay, things I have learned since I cut the camera off. If you will put some of the sauce at the bottom of the jar before you put the meat, it's a lot easier to stir. So that's what I'm doing with these two. These are the last two to go into the canner. These are some dehydrated mushrooms. I wanted to use these up. These are some mushrooms that I got from Sharon View Farms in Mooresville, North Carolina. This guy has it's a mushroom farm. It's pretty cool. He inoculates logs himself, and he raises shiitake mushrooms. You can buy the logs, bring them home, and harvest your own mushrooms, which I think is super cool. And that might happen this season. It's probably going to happen next season because I've got a lot on my list of things to do. So that actually may happen next year. But if you're still with me, you can see that because I'll video that. He does a little tutorial while you're there. And he's taking a break this year because of his he has some family obligations. So I will probably try to call and see about planning a day to go over there. But getting those dehydrated mushrooms was one of the reasons I wanted to do a video of chunky mushroom spaghetti sauce. So it worked out. I can still use his stuff. So I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll show you the canner and what to expect with the canner. Okay, we have reached our way to the canner. So you can see at the bottom of the canner, you're going to see a I don't know if you can see it or not. You can see a little plate at the bottom with holes in it. That is to keep the cans from touching the bottom of the plate, the bottom of the container of the pressure canner. That's so that they're off of the direct heat, and they're getting the equal amount of heat. This pressure canner kind of runs on steam, so I'm going to put one last can in. Look how pretty, look how good we did. So I'm going to put that can in. You'll see that it does not go to the top. If it did, that would be considered water bath canning. I wanted to show you the lid. The lid has a gasket, and it needs to be securely in place. When I wash it, when I wash my lid, I take that ring out and I make sure it's good and clean. You want to make sure that there's nothing obstructing any of these holes. And this is the port that you put the weight on, and you want to look it up at the light, look at the light and make sure that there's light coming through there, just so that there is no there's nothing clogging that, because that's where the pressure is released. To make sure that you are getting the right amount of pressure. You'll see that we have a valve here. When you block this, it's going to increase the pressure, and it'll get to 10 pounds of pressure, and that pressure is based on where you are on near the level, sea level. At our sea level pressure, at our height in the world, we'll only need to get to 10 pounds of pressure. You'll see this when the pressure rises inside of the pressure canner, it will hook right here on this little lip, and that's another safety measure. I was telling you about safety measures that will hook on this hook and keep the lid securely in place. It's also, I'm going to put it on here now, and then these little ridges are locked into place as well. So there's so many security levels now to where it's extremely safe to pressure can. And again, a lot of people that tell you that pressure canning's scary, it's loud, absolutely loud, but the safety measures on pressure canners these days make it to where it's really safe, especially compared to the old canners. I don't remember any of the pressure valves. There were some, but not as many as you see in today's pressure canners. So I just wanted to point those things out. We'll come back. There's going to be some steam coming out here, and this lock will lock into place before we put the weight on. The weight here will go here. When that has had a steady steam coming out for 10 minutes, and we're going to time that. And once the pressure builds up to 10 pounds of pressure, then we will start our timer for 70 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. So I'll bring you back for that. That was a lot, wasn't it? That was a lot of information. Glad you stuck around for that. I wanted to let you know some of the tools that I used. I tried to include, but I don't think that I mentioned this. These are just the jar graspers that you have. If the cans are hot, you don't want to burn your hands. This keeps you from moving hot jars into the canner and out of the canner. If you have grandchildren, makes for great dinosaur jaws and alligator jaws. You just have to make sure that they return them before they leave to go back to their parents. Ask me how I know. Also, make sure you get your pens back, because I've lost so many Sharpies in this house because of little people taking it and like taking the pens, the caps off of them. You wouldn't think that those little pieces of tools would appeal to little kids, but the grandkids play with all manners of things in the my canning room, my pantry room. And I love that, because the curiosity, they help me cook and play in the garden and stuff like that, so it makes it worth it. I did want to tell you, anybody that is in the Gen Z granny era, which I think is absolutely lovely, if you have questions, concerns, or you have ideas, or you want to see something that maybe something more basic than spaghetti sauce at this level to be canned, put it in the comments below, and I would love to help you out with that. I know that my first canning video being spaghetti sauce that has to be pressure canned that's kind of a big step. It was just one of the things on my pantry that I absolutely was out of and I needed. So if there's something that you want to see, just let me know, and I'll be happy to share that information and get the tutorial out there for you. If there's anybody that is in the Gen X like myself that is a granny or a GG in my case, and you haven't canned before, or you have canned, and I encourage you to pass that information on to the next generation, because this is one of those things that once it's lost, we can't get it back. I know there are people that are on YouTube that are doing canning videos, but I don't know that is information that people want us to have. So go ahead and share that information. Get involved. Go ahead and get your pantry started with shelf-stable foods that come from organic means of whether it's your garden or someone else's garden. If you have someone in your life who's been canning for years, sit and talk to them. Get the information. So if you've gotten to this far, share the video, hit all the buttons that you're supposed to hit. And I'll see you on the next one. God bless you, and hope you have a great day.